He lived with purpose. He left a legacy.
And in that few minutes I had the time with him, I didn't know, but I knew he was on his way. I just had that sense he was on his way.
And Lieutenant Collins was just standing there, living his best life.
There he is, with missing his front teeth. Yeah. There's Audrey. There's Audrey. Baby and grandma. Wow. Oh, this is late.
I need to get it together. I'll be right back.
There's some tissue right there.
I take it upon myself to sit there. Being a student at the University of Maryland, if students pass, I ask them, do you understand Collins Plaza and what happened? Some know. Wow, thank you. But much to my dismay, too many don't know.
May I ask, how many of you actually know the name Lieutenant Richard W. Collins III?
Even though he's no longer here, we don't love him any less. The love is just as great now as when he was walking through the rooms in this house, and that's how I would say we carry on in spirit. It's something that will never die, and I guess until we die.
Correct.
The life of Lieutenant Richard W. Collins III was and is rich with love.
Basically, full of energy, very curious, inquisitive, and always looking for a new challenge. So he wanted to challenge himself. He was competitive. He wanted to compete. He played the big brother. It was always, whenever there was something that had to be decided, it's like, well, I'm the big brother, so I got to make the first choice, so I need to be first in this. But he was very protective of her.
He considered her my little baby Robin. She didn't like the name so much, but he said, I got to take care of my little baby Robin.
Coming from a long line of military veterans, Lieutenant Richard Collins had exceptional aspirations for his contributions to the United States Army.
First time I ever recalled him speaking about himself personally going to the military was when he was in college. And he came home and said, I'm thinking about joining ROTC.
He just knew he was going to the top. I remember that conversation of him saying he was going to be a general officer. Don't worry about it. I'm going all the way to the top. And even in speaking with the people that knew him at Bowie, spoke about that he was an exceptional cadet. Mrs. Robinson, she will say that Lieutenant Collins was an exceptional cadet. And to have the 2-story mural at MLK Center, and if you look at the pose of Lieutenant Collins, 2 stories, that would exemplify him totally. Pride in what he was doing.
Yeah, so when they see him, they're like, who is that? And I hope I'm around so I can say, that's my baby.
He tended not to hold a lot of prejudice against people for how they identified or who they were.
During the ultrasound, found out it was a boy. He was ecstatic, but I was like, oh no, a black man in America.
On May 20th, 2017, Lieutenant Richard W. Collins III was murdered on the University of Maryland campus by a white UMD student.
It was terrible and unforgettable tragedy nearly 8 years ago when we lost Lieutenant Collins on my campus.
Yeah. So bittersweet.
Mere days before his graduation ceremony, the now convicted murderer approached a group of students specifically targeting Lieutenant Collins, the only Black person in that group, demanding that he step left if you know what's good for you.
I'm sure he looked and said, "Who are you? How dare you?" No.
When Lieutenant Collins refused, the murderer stabbed Lieutenant Collins in the chest, killing him.
It wasn't just a statement, it was a threat. Looking back on it, the individual who made that statement knew the evil intent that he had, and that was to do bodily harm and to use deadly force in carrying out the bodily harm.
Lieutenant Collins was just standing there, living his best life. He was celebrating the fact that he was going to be able to serve this country.
The day of Richard's commissioning was a high point for us. It was another, I made it, I did it, I'm on my way. He had orders as an intel officer. He was going to be stationed in Korea. We celebrated with family and friends that came up, and we went to dinner. We celebrated at Margiano's. I can't go to that restaurant to this day. But I remember at the end when the bill came, he was like, "Give it to Bill."
Yeah, we're used to that.
As I begin my military career, I'll keep each one of you that helped shape me in my heart and close to my mind. I'll never be a stranger. Thank you.
And in a matter of seconds, and that's the end of it.
It's senseless.
That disgusting scourge of hatred for someone else because. And people have heard me say, that does not need to exist on any institution of higher learning. You're here to learn, to open your mind, not to close it.
We need to place emphasis on ensuring that every person is treated with humanity. Humanity shouldn't be reserved for specific or special groups.
No.
Interest groups. Humanity belongs to all humans.
Through the collaboration of the Collins family and the Office of State's Attorney Braveboy, on October 1st, 2020, the Second Lieutenant Richard Collins III law went into effect.
The hate crime law that we changed.
George Allen and State's Attorney Braveboy met with myself and my husband and says, we're going to lobby and we're going to change the law.
The first time around.
Collins Law changed the hate crime statute standard to allow the perpetrator's prior activity to be enough to prove sole or partial intent.
His killer was a white man whose phone contained some disgusting, racist, ugly imagery.
We had professors from the University of Maryland, Bowie State.
Dr. Ray, when he found out about Lieutenant Collins, he didn't know us, but he found a way to get to our home and came into our front door and said, I will be there with you through thick and thin. And that man has been there from the beginning.
President Burrow had just become president of this great university. This beautiful woman was there on the front seat of some of the darkest days of our life at the trial. And I want to publicly say thank you.
We had SPLC, the Lawyers Committee, all of these individuals testifying why this hate law needed to be changed in the state of Maryland. And it's one of the most stringent laws in the country.
I look at this family and I hate that you lost your beautiful son. But look what he's created.
In the same month that the Collins Law went into effect, the Bowie State University and University of Maryland Social Justice Alliance was certified as a joint organization between both institutions.
I see his honor and his memory living on by some of the great things that we've been able to accomplish with the foundation. The Social Justice Alliance is amazing, with the two schools, Bowie State and the University of Maryland, coming together.
This institution has been rooted in a fight for equity, access, and the right to be educated in a world that so often denied those rights to people who looked like us, newly freed citizens. And so it is fitting that we are gathered here today on this sacred ground to continue that legacy through the work of the Social Justice Alliance.
The SJA supports research, teaching, and community partnerships to address racism on both campuses.
As a white woman on these lands and this earth, racial justice is my work.
Both institutions have also established a scholarship fund.
Oh, and then we were honored at the White House under President Biden.
The garden honoring Lieutenant Collins is located in Costa Rica and stands as a beautiful tribute to the impact Lieutenant Collins' legacy leaves on not just Maryland, but on the world.
The Do Good Challenge, winning that, is amazing.
It is a uniquely devastating tragedy for parents to outlive their children, often leaving some things unspoken because there should be more time.
For me, it will be, son, you will never be forgotten on my watch. When they want to hear about you, I'm going to talk about you. When they don't want to hear about you, I'm going to talk about you. Because you mattered, you were not a mistake, you were loved, you were cherished, and you're ours. I was having a conversation with Robin about people forgetting or we're not honoring Richard. And she said to me, Mom, we honor Richie every day. Since he transitioned, we think about him, we speak his name. He is never forgotten in this house. And for us to hear anyone say, oh, it gets better, and no, I'm on the front lines, and to whomever I can speak his name, I'm going to say it. Because at the end of the day, you can't give us what we want, and that's our son.
The life and legacy of Lieutenant Richard W. Collins III continues to change the world for the better.
As I've often said, anyone that has been in my circle knows, I've said I'm taking this national. Not quite sure how, but I know I'm not going to be quiet, and the world will know his name.
Mama and Papa Collins, we love you. This song was inspired by your work, so I'm gonna sing it again. Mama and Papa Collins, we love you. There's a riot in my heart, being torn apart by the pain that you caused when you lost us, saving yourself from the onslaught. I thought you had me. It was real that you had me until you saved yourself and the insurrection felt like a setup.